I was putting pressure on Kody to work on his relationships with his kids.
I'm tired of being angry.
Oh, I'm having a hard time not losing respect for you a little bit. I think that Kody should be camping out on their doorstep. Your kids need you.
So what would you recommend for a fertility doctor?
We're talking about Mary's infertility stuff. Whenever you're going to get an opportunity to talk to somebody, you know.
Of course, that's just Kody for you. It wasn't about the wives or their feelings. It was all about him and his endless self-importance. He treated his wives like baby-making machines, and it showed. Saying, "I've got a wife who only has one child," as if it's some kind of flaw? How charming. Could he be any more insulting? How about this instead? Another wife wants to have more children. That would at least show a hint of respect, but Kody isn't exactly known for that. And then there's Robyn. Christine was always the good sister wife, playing her part, but Robyn? Well, let's just say she's never been an innocent bystander in all of this. And let's not forget the hypocrisy of Kody's latest gem. Christine and Miri were close, like actually close, until Christine had the audacity to divorce him. Now, all of a sudden, she's the villain who was never a good sister wife. Please. It's not funny, it's pathetic. Christine was still under his spell at the time, but I bet she'd see through the nonsense now. Oh, and remember when Kody claimed she'd never made an effort with the other wives? That she was distant and didn't try to build relationships with anyone? Now, here he is on camera, saying she and Miri were always tight. The man can't keep his story straight. Hey everyone, welcome back to Reality Nexus X. It's Elena here, and I hope you're all having an amazing day. Thanks for tuning in. Let's jump right into today's video. I'm not buying it. Suddenly, now Sister Wives star Robyn Brown's realized that Kody's other kids actually need their dad. Oh sure, she wants us to believe that she's been telling him to practically camp out on their adult kids' doorsteps if that's what it takes to fix things. And then, in an ironic twist, she claims she's losing respect for him, Kody's favorite form of currency, because he can't maintain relationships? Yeah, right. Now, Robyn wants the viewers to think she's been pushing Kody to reconcile, and he's just too stubborn to comply. Let's get real. We've seen enough by now to know that if Robyn wants something to happen, Kody doesn't just hop on board. He builds the ship and sails it. Robyn wanted Easter celebrated. Done. She wanted Halloween. No problem. Barbies for the girls? Absolutely. A solo trip to Hawaii with just her and her kids? You bet. She wanted the first rental in Vegas? Check. Dayan going to college? Let's follow him there. I could go on forever. So if Robyn had actually told Kody to figure it out with his kids, you can bet he'd be doing it. This whole sympathy act she's trying to pull now? Not buying it. It's just another storyline and not a very convincing one. Honestly, she should think about working acting classes into that family budget. Here's my theory. They filmed this back in January, right after season 18 aired, when their popularity tanked. Robyn's conveniently throwing Kody under the bus now so she can later say, "Hey, I tried to make him fix things, but he just wouldn't listen." Nice try, Robyn, but we're not falling for it. Plus, just when you think the reality star Kody Brown can't possibly get any worse, spoiler alert, he proves us all wrong. He's recounting how Aries said, "I don't like Christine because she left my dad, and so I don't like her." And then Kody, in all his fatherly wisdom, goes, "Well, I did have to kind of correct her, but it did show loyalty." I had to pause right there because, seriously, what in the actual hell is going on in this man's brain? He's treating his daughter like some pawn in his twisted loyalty game, like she's one of his wives instead of a child. It's so messed up. He's blurring the lines between how he talks about his spouses and his kids, and it's honestly gross. I needed to rant because, wow, okay, back to watching. This guy. And let's be real, Aerie didn't just come up with that on her own. She's heard it somewhere. This kid doesn't even understand what it means to leave someone. She only knows her dad is sulking around about it all the time, going on and on about how Christine wrecked his life. Ari isn't loyal to Kody. She's just picking up on the fact that her dad is miserable. She loves him, hears that Christine's the reason he's a wreck, and naturally, she assumes Christine's the villain for making daddy sad. Meanwhile, Kody's over here stressing about his older kids being manipulated by their mothers after they left. Oh please, I hope they serve him a harsh reality check, and while they're at it, make Robyn shed some actual tears for once. Furthermore, the absolute audacity of sister wives star Janelle Brown giving her savings to Robyn for those Vegas and Flagstaff moves, all while Robyn refuses to let Janelle's kids eat her food. I mean, aside from the obvious rage-inducing details of this arrangement, it just screams that Robyn was never a good fit for an established polygamous family. Think about it. You've got this timeline where Janelle's kids are being scolded for daring to touch Robyn's precious groceries. And meanwhile, Robyn's busy forcing that MSWC business disaster onto everyone, draining their finances like it's no big deal. What an absolute train wreck. If I were Janelle, I would have lost it, no question. And then there's Miri. Honestly, she was so lucky the family didn't chip in to help her buy that property in Utah for her mom's B&B. At the time, she was crushed, but looking back, it would have been a complete disaster if they had. In fact, I think not getting the family's help with that B&B purchase was the turning point for Mary. It probably made her realize she could actually make it on her own, a blessing in disguise in so many ways. But poor Janelle, right? She actually believed Robyn and Kody were playing fair. For years, the other three wives seemed to handle finances pretty evenly. They didn't see Robyn coming at all. Honestly, Robyn is lucky she's dealing with someone as reasonable as Janelle. If it were me, I'd still be marching into that Shira chateau, flinging open the fridge, and eating whatever the hell I wanted. Why? Because it's my house, my fridge, and my food, until every single dime I gave you is paid back. Period. As well as Janelle's son Logan and Michelle didn't want their wedding on the show, and honestly, who can blame them? But of course, I was scrolling through TikTok and saw Michelle herself had to clear the air about it. I did the whole "we're going to an event" thing, but the fact that they turned it into a plotline, seriously. They spent 20 awkward minutes on this, with everyone talking about how uncomfortable it was. Like, wow, thanks. Glad our wedding is now cemented as an awkward memory for everyone. So consider it. I mean, sure, maybe the producers were pushing for drama, but it's not like anyone had to go along with it. They could have chosen to highlight the positives. It was great to see everyone come together in celebration, something mature. But no, let's focus on the awkwardness following a joyful occasion. Great call, everyone. Logan and Michelle seem like such kind, normal people. Honestly, I love them. Janelle clearly did a solid job raising her kids. But for Kody, this is pretty much par for the course. As for Janelle and the others, though, how many times are they going to let production twist their lives like this? If that were my family being sold out like that, I'd be livid. It's gross. Just gross. However, sister wives star Robyn Brown and Kody Brown lying about Ariella Brown. Classic. At the start of the episode, Robyn's over here saying the little kids have no clue about what's going on in the family, that they're not tracking any of it. And then, not even 5 minutes later, Kody's all, Ari told me she doesn't like Christine for leaving the family. Cue the eye roll. They're such liars, and honestly, at this point, I'm convinced we can't trust a single word out of their mouths. Do they not realize there's literal footage of them contradicting each other every episode? If they're going to lie this much, you'd think they'd at least get their stories straight. But nope, no coordination whatsoever. Maybe that's why production isn't interviewing them together anymore, because it's easier to catch them slipping up when they're apart. There's no way they can prep or sync up their stories, and without being side by side, they can't give each other those "we're so happy" cues or, the classic cover the mouth and pretend we've got it all together move. Also, the father of 18, Kody Brown, is really scraping the bottom of the barrel with this one. He's claiming that Christine was jealous when Logan was born, despite always saying that marrying her calmed family dynamics, and that Logan bonded them all together. Sure, there would still be issues because, they're human. But come on, this is a whole new level of ridiculousness. I'm guessing he's feeling a bit touchy about his spot at Logan's wedding, second row on the bride's side, and is trying to undermine Christine's relationship with the rest of the family. If he didn't marry her for love, then why is he so obsessed with her? You weren't exactly rushing to visit her or end your physical duties, claiming you never loved her. So why can't you stop talking about her 3 years later? You never seemed this butthurt when the other 2 wives left. What is it about Christine that stings so much? You got what you wanted, Robyn, all to yourself. Shouldn't you be basking in the glow of your soulmate? You two should be so happy your cheeks hurt from smiling. Yet here you are, slinging mud at Christine more than you ever do talking about your supposed true love. Honestly, why are you still hung up on someone you claim you didn't love, dredging up stuff from 30 years ago? And why don't the other wives get this same treatment? What really grinds his gears is that everyone outside the McMansion loves Christine, while they're not too fond of him. He feels the need to prove she's unworthy of love. He does the same with Mary, and even she isn't as universally liked. This whole situation perfectly illustrates how Kody views his wives. In his twisted narrative, he sees Christine as jealous of a baby, which is 100% false. Who gets jealous of a newborn? But that's where Kody's mind goes. This is just another reminder that you can never take his version of events as the honest truth. Additionally, I used to watch this show weekly but eventually moved on with my life. Recently, I've been catching up on seasons 18 and 19, and one thing that really struck me is how often these adults talk about being safe, especially Robyn. Like when she said, "I couldn't go there because it wouldn't have been emotionally safe for me. I had to pause." Are we seriously talking about being a little uncomfortable, feeling sad, having your feelings hurt? Do these people really avoid everything just to stay in their little happy bubbles all the time? And honestly, I think people on here bash Robyn way too much. A lot of Kody's behavior seems to use Robyn as a scapegoat. For instance, he was demanding that Janelle's boys apologize to her, but she never even asked for that. However, sister wives star Kody Brown had quite the experience trying to leave the house recently. He was on his way to see Janelle when, lo and behold, Ariella decided it was the perfect moment to throw a tantrum. Picture this: little Ariella clinging to his leg like a desperate limpet, wailing, "Don't leave me, Daddy, don't leave me." As if Kody wasn't busy enough, he turns to Robyn for help and asks, "Can you please drag her off me?" But Robyn, ever the voice of reason, chimes in with, "She's just expressing herself. You really need to take 5 minutes and let her do that." Kody, in a moment of sheer frustration, has to explain that, he actually has other kids who need him too. It's like trying to convince someone that the sun rises in the east. Clearly, he's speaking a different language here. Meanwhile, Ariella is still glued to his leg, clearly unaware of the whole other wife, other kids concept. Honestly, Kody's moment of clarity is shocking, and I can only imagine how Robyn felt hearing him spill that. She's been doing her utmost to craft a flawless image, which, let's face it, hasn't been going well. This little admission does nothing but validate what we all know. Since Robyn joined the family back in May 2010 as an unemployed spiritual wife, she's been monopolizing Kody's time and resources, effectively elbowing out the original 3 wives. And it gets better. Robyn hasn't held a real job since she arrived. Instead, she lured the family into her ill-fated niche project, the now-defunct online jewelry store, My Sister Wife's Closet, which drained their finances. Yet through it all, she's played the victim, manipulating the situation to her advantage while gaslighting the original wives and children. It's amusing, really. Most viewers can see through Kody and Robyn's thin veneer of harmony, but it's almost poetic to hear Kody inadvertently confirm that Robyn isn't the perfect polygamous princess they pretend she is. For someone who has spent 14 years trying to school the original wives on the ins and outs of polygamy, Kody's revelation that he has another mommy waiting for him speaks volumes. It's even sadder that those other kids aren't waiting around for him anymore. Talk about a hefty slice of regret coming his way. This whole scenario highlights how Robyn has shifted the culture of the Brown family to fit her own narrative. She's pulled Kody away from his other family members while hoarding resources like a dragon with its gold. Can you believe she has the gall to claim her kids weren't welcomed when she's been a major force behind the family's separation? And let's not forget her internal dilemma about whether or not to remind Saul and Aerie about their half-siblings. She worries they might question why they didn't receive a birthday card or an invitation to a party. Meanwhile, she and Kody completely forgot Gabe's birthday in 2021. That's rich. It seems Kody and Robyn thought they were serving up a juicy story, but in reality, they just exposed themselves. It's clear that Kody never leaves Robyn's house, and she's using Ariella as a pawn to keep him wrapped around her finger. If Kody had genuinely spent time away from Robyn when Ariella was a baby, she wouldn't still be having these meltdowns. They clearly didn't think this through at all. Also, the reality star Robyn Brown's clueless question, "What other kids?" really says it all. Instead of just explaining the situation to her little ones, she'd rather pretend the original kids don't exist. And let's not forget about Truly. Does she not recall the 1,000 photos of their mansion? Are there no family pictures on the walls? Or does she just prefer to curate a fantasy family? Those kids aren't struggling with some existential crisis. They're just stuck with two clueless parents. Honestly, they probably couldn't care less about their so-called siblings. What about the other kids in Kody's life? Why doesn't Robyn wonder if they ever sent birthday cards or called? And what about their father, who's battling cancer? She conveniently picks and chooses what to acknowledge, all while ignoring the reality around her. From the start, Robyn has been systematically erasing the original 13 from the family narrative. Remember Logan's graduation? An anthropology student had the insight to call her out on it. The OG wives were left powerless and lacking the self-esteem to stand their ground because Robyn weaponized Kody against them right from the get-go. Firstly, did she really just serve half-eaten caramel apples? I mean, if she's going to slice them up, why on earth are the cores still on the platter with the sticks sticking out? Is it just me, or does anyone else find this super weird? Secondly, that artwork looks like it was plucked straight from a mall gift shop. Seriously, why are there so many pieces crammed into one wall? It's like a bad art installation. And let's talk about that treadmill. Do you think it ever sees actual use, or is it just a fancy shelf for mail storage? Those apples, they look like the gourmet kind from QVC. You can even see the wrapping in her hand. They're usually dipped in caramel, nuts, and chocolate, and it looks like she sliced them down the sides to play it classy and eat them with a fork. Very sophisticated, right? And that picture, it screams parks and recreation. I can practically hear the theme music. Pawnee's an incredibly superstitious town. A traveling magician came through one time, and he pulled a rabbit out of a hat, and the mob burned him at the stake for being a witch. The year was 1973. Oh, you can just tell she hates this man. Kody Brown irritates the hell out of her. He's like a grown man-child who needs constant attention and adoration 24/7. When Robyn insists she didn't want him full-time, I totally believe her. She just wanted to be the #1 wife. Now that she's stuck with him all day, every day, I can only imagine how exhausting it must be to constantly feed his ego while maintaining her sweet little facade. No wonder none of the other wives wanted him full-time. He's simply too draining. It's hilarious how Janelle doesn't even seem to miss having him around part-time. She's like, nah, I'm good. Robyn can have him. Honestly, I don't think Robyn and Kody like each other at all. They're just trapped in this arrangement now. If they were to divorce, they'd have to face the fact that they're the problem, and that's just not happening after all the trash talking and wrecking of other relationships. Kody had a pretty decent situation going before Robyn entered the picture. Things were running mostly smoothly. Sure, there were some jealousy issues, but that's pretty standard in a plural marriage. Then he gets swept up in that new relationship energy after decades with the same women, picks his favorite wife, and makes no effort to hide it or keep things balanced. Naturally, that blew up all his other relationships. Now he's trying to rewrite history, blaming everyone except himself and Robyn for the mess they've made. If they're still married in 5 years, it'll be purely out of stubbornness. Kody must realize that after 3 failed marriages and about 200 kids who won't speak to him, he's unlikely to find another woman, especially one who shares his beliefs, who will tolerate his nonsense. All his bad behavior is on camera for the world to see, and no amount of historical revisionism is going to change that. We all know who's really at fault here. Furthermore, Sister Wives star Christine Brown's daughter Mykelti Brown is just as unbearable as Robyn. Seriously, did you catch that cringeworthy moment when Robyn said, "I'm gonna be the one, kind of, helping the most, and I'm sure Christine will, kind of, step in after I leave, and I'll hand the baton over to her kind of a thing, you know?" I mean, what even is that? It's enough to make anyone's stomach turn. These two are just sickening together. What a duo. Haha, that's all I've got on that disaster. Now Christine, she's playing the long game like a pro. Instead of going toe-to-toe with Mykelti over Robyn, she's just letting her stumble through it on her own. Genius move, honestly. That way, when Mykelti's relationship with Robyn inevitably tanks, Christine can sit back and say, not my problem. And let's not overlook Robyn's charming little boast about having a full-time nanny while wrangling her grown-ass kids. Oh, the irony. I'm helping the most. I had to double-check that I hadn't misheard. She just loves to play the martyr, doesn't she? All selfless and sensitive to everyone else's needs, while she's clearly got a personal assistant on speed dial. Classic Robyn. Plus, Robyn Brown's girls look absolutely miserable. Honestly, that household must be a real joy to live in. Kody's always angry, and Robyn is just a constant stream of complaints. It's like they both need a constant supply of emotional fluff to keep from being unbearable. And let's not forget, whenever the cameras are rolling, it's all about pretending to be the happy family, because God forbid you show any real feelings and face their wrath. I can't even imagine what that's like. I think Kody mentioned something about them doing music in the summer, but what about jobs? Friends, they're in their 20s for crying out loud. They look so sad because they've never learned how to play the game. Family game night? Please. The only nights they know are Worship Kody night and Praise Robyn night. Oh, and let's not forget Blame Christine night, always a crowd favorite. Robyn and Kody have spun this whole narrative, and now they've got the girls doubling down on it in recent episodes. It's honestly heartbreaking to think that they're going to end up with no real family connections later on. They keep playing the victim and rejecting any attempts to mend things with the kids, and that's just setting them up for isolation. Moreover, from above, the ramen noodle maze sprawls out like a confusing labyrinth, and all I can think is, seriously, just shave your head and call it a day. I mean, why on earth doesn't he just get hair transplants? He throws cash at everything else under the sun. People keep claiming those little antennas are the result of a transplant, but let's be real, he's been rocking that look for years. I think Madison or Hunter were the first to point it out way back in the early seasons. It's like watching a bad sitcom. Same joke, different episode. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to hear whether you agree or disagree. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell for future updates. Your feedback is important, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.